Next Curve.
Hey everyone, this is Leonard Lee, Executive Analyst at Next Curve, and I am here in San Diego.
Yes,
refreshingly, I don't have to travel. This is really great. Yeah, attending Cisco Live 2025, and I'm here with Maribel Lopez of Lopez Research.
Yes.
Yeah, right on. That was
founder
harmony.
And analyst of Lopez Research. Here we are.
Yes, and so before we get started, we want to give a shout out to our good friend Jo Peterson.
Miss you.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, we're here. Miss you much. And so what I want to do is spend a little time with you to get some of your thoughts on the event this year, as well as some of your key takes. What is it that you thought really wowed you? And maybe what are some of the things that you thought, fell short of expectations? You know, and so, you know, before we get started, do you want to introduce yourself to the Next Curve audience, like formally beyond just Lopez? Yeah, I mean, all I know is that everyone at Cisco loves you, so you're like a superstar.
So that's very kind of you, thank you. I'm a technology industry analyst. I help IT leaders move into next waves of technology. It started a long time ago with networking. We're still doing networking and telecom, and we've added AI. So here we are, everything's AI, and so I'm doing a lot of AI for security, AI for customer experience, and really excited to be here. So,
yeah. And you know, we're on calls occasionally, right?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together, actually.
Yeah, virtually.
In little 2-inch cubes, so. Much time together virtually.
Yes, and here's the thing. If you don't follow her, you should, because she asks really, really good questions during the analyst session. So, and that's a trademark of.
We didn't let them off easy this year. We asked them lots of questions. We had lots of great executive support. I will say that's one thing that's been really fabulous about this event. We've seen and had the opportunity to talk to all of the key leaders here, and they were very forthcoming and nice, and that's one of the things that really made the event a great event, I think. But at any rate, and just where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with what are some of the things that really impressed you this year, or some of the key takeaways that you got out of the discussions and the sessions that we've had with the Cisco executives, and maybe even what you saw at the keynote.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty simple story in some ways, right? Everybody on the planet's doing AI, so you expected to have some AI discussion happen, how it changed networking, how it would change everything, basically. One of the things I thought was really interesting about this year versus last year is, see the progression of them actually moving to a platform, because everybody says when they have a lot of products, it's like, oh, well, we've got a platform play. Well, really, you have a lot of products that aren't integrated yet. So I think we've seen some real meaningful progress on the integration that's been talked about for years. It's starting to look and feel a little more like there's a platform opportunity with Cisco. Security just continues to be a much larger focus than what we saw in the past. They've always talked about security, but it's definitely a broadening in terms of how to think about it and how to do that in an AI world. I think the shock and delight moment was the DJ Sandpath demo. We got to see one of those demos, and he did the same demo on stage. And live demo is not for the light of heart.
No.
There's so many things that could go wrong, and it was not just that the demo didn't go wrong, but it was more that you could see there was some interesting insights and ways to do work differently when you had the demo. So. At that point, I'm going to stop and say, how about you? What'd you see?
Yeah, I will pick up on what you mentioned about the network and security, and how security is becoming more of a thing. And under these convergence topics, right? We saw Cisco approach it not only from what we traditionally see with boxes in the network. We saw them go all the way down to the devices and silicon, right? And so what really stood out for me was the concept of the smart switch and converging security with network. And that kind of tied in, I think, in a box, a lot of this platform perspective that I think they're trying to promote. And platform in terms of not only the integration of the various services and products that they have, but also with this idea of converging things from a network and security perspective. And I think we had some really cool conversations about how it is sort of like a IT/OT kind of conflict, right, between the CISO and the CIO, right? But one of the challenges I think the industry, all industries face right now are cyber threats. It's ridiculous, right? I mean, coming out of RSAC, it's just truly frightening, especially in this age of agentic AI, where I think there's growing concerns, unknown concerns, things that are unknown that you should be concerned about, that have yet to be addressed or yet to be realized. And so this convergence of the network, the platformization is going to actually be essential. I mean, the more I think about it going forward, and one of the unique positionings that Cisco has is they are in the network play as well as the security play. And so for the industry, right, there is going to be that challenge of how do we bring things together, whether it's in a platform or through integration, middleware, standards, what have you, to get to a higher degree of convergence and integration, especially around telemetry, data, because if you don't have that, it's going to be really difficult to counter a lot of these emerging threats that we're going to see coming at us, if not are already here, right?
It's true. I think, so there are two sides to any coin, right?
Yeah.
In general, everybody understands that it's an extremely complex environment.
Yeah.
Particularly in security, we have too many tools. We've always had too many solutions. People are double digits, 40, 50, 60 different security products. One of the challenges with platforming, if you do it right, you can sell into an organization at a strategic layer, right?
Yeah.
So senior buyers that are looking at who are going to be a select number of partners that I'm going to do business with, that are going to provide me with enough that I will have several platforms, right? In SaaS, maybe that's your Salesforce or your ServiceNow is one of those. In infrastructure, it could be a Cisco or Dell. In cloud, it might be a Google, a Microsoft, an IBM, and AWS, right? Okay, the challenge is they're all different buyers. Right, so the platform play is really cool, but to your point, when you said sort of like an IT/OT thing, there's IT and then there's security operations, and they're different. They're different individuals, they're different buying centers. I think the thing that you picked up on that's so important that might drive that change is all that data. And what's the platform that helps people leverage the data across the whole stack, from devices through networking, through security and cloud, right? So it's a lot of data. It's in a lot of different systems that you have to pull together, collect, correlate, come up with some interesting, useful insights. And that's where their whole Splunk platform comes in. But all of this is it's expensive. People already have stuff. They need to migrate to stuff. So I think the messages are really resonating, but I don't underestimate the challenge of how an organization gets from here to over there, where like, I've got this wonderful unified platform, and you should buy one too. It's not like you pick it up at the grocery store and you're done.
Right. But so what did Tom Gillis tell us?
Which thing? Tom was like very insightful. One of the things he talked about was the CISO. The rip and he was like, no rip and replace, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big, and it makes sense, because if you walk into somebody and I've just spent millions of dollars on a different type of infrastructure, I'm going to sweat that for a couple of years, right?
Absolutely.
And so then it's like, how do you do a controlled migration? And this is one of the most underappreciated skill sets that there is not just how to do a controlled migration, because we always talked about that, but how to do a controlled migration in a rapidly evolving environment.
Sure. Sure.
So, companies come to us all the time and they're like, hey, is this message differentiated? Is this product category differentiated? And you're like, well, for 3 months it is. And then your competitor is going to come out and announce something and they'll be differentiated for 3 months. So it's a really fluid, dynamic, difficult, but high opportunity time.
Yeah. And I think the buyers also need to think about, just having a balanced strategy between consolidation and integration, right? Because I think the winning play at the moment, given that, like as you're alluding to, platformization, it's nice that you can say that, but making that large shift, you're probably not going to see this monolithic shift.
Good setup behind us.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. We're live. I mean,
we are live. We're totally live.
Yeah.
Actually, we hijacked the room when no one was looking. So here we are.
We have a special
like
guest.
Any good analyst would do. We're like, we can make this happen.
Yeah, exactly. Where was I? So having that, providing some of that middleware in terms of your products, having sort of a sense of plug-in play-ishness, modularity, because that's something that G2 mentioned a couple of times up on stage, is that we do also look at things as our products as being sort of modular in a sense that can mix and match with other solutions out there, other vendor solutions, but having that backbone, right? Being able to at least have that proposition that you can bring to the table to your customers and say, hey, look, we can help you stitch this stuff together from the data all the way on up, right? So I think that was one of the things that I thought was cool, because those are talking points that were in the messaging and how they were talking about their strategy as well as their product. So
what's interesting? So we've both worked with Cisco and followed them for a long time. And one of the things I'd say has changed is, as Cisco has moved more towards delivering security, the security is a village problem, right? Security takes a village. There's lots of different threats. There's lots of different companies. The security vendors they all compete, but they all acknowledge that you probably need more than one thing, right? So if you do the pull through of that, the pull through of that ethos of there's going to be more than one thing in the environment, I think some of that thinking has been really helpful in terms of Cisco looking at the totality of the portfolio and saying, okay, how do these integrations work? How does consolidation work? How do migrations work?
Yeah.
How do you do it in a way that acknowledges it's going to be a heterogeneous environment largely? No matter what happens, there's still going to be heterogeneity.
That's so important. Yeah.
So given that, I think because then you start to build things that matter, things that allow you to share data, to collect data, to action in other platforms, or be able to send actions to other platforms. And I think you mentioned agentic earlier. Okay, we're super early. That was really obvious through all the discussions I had here, which was refreshing, by the way. I was kind of over agentic, and everybody making it sound like you were just going to hit the easy agentic button. So I think we had a lot of reality of what that means here. And I think part of the reason we had that reality is it's around we've got to secure those things, right? We've got to collect data from those agents. And
exactly.
That really makes you think a lot. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought. So there you go.
This is the thing. This is what I told DJ and Anand, who is VP who works under him. And I met him at RSAC. That is the great opportunity, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is the threats are now. The threat actors are not stopping. No. They're not wondering, hey, how do we make this stuff safe? They will use it. And so that is, to be able to help organizations defend themselves, is a huge frontier for innovation, and that's the way I look at it. And so I think it then becomes a great opportunity for Cisco and their peers in the marketplace that recognize the challenge and then put some dollars into. Because the threats are there.
Opportunity. So, I mean, the bigger your portfolio, the more opportunities you have to sell in a broader platform. So I think they had that going for them. And the keynote was a little bit of an onslaught yesterday.
It's a G2 show.
Well, and I do think that was important, right? Because in the past we had sort of, here's this group, here's that group, here's the other group. And I think what they were trying to demonstrate was, G2 talking about the entirety of the portfolio, pretty much most of the portfolio, but it was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to kind of parse, like in any given group, there was something really interesting that happened.
Absolutely.
But you heard about all of them and you were just like, At some point, I'm like, enough. End the keynote, please. Well, I can't take any more announcements.
So speaking of ending, we were only supposed to do this for like 5 minutes. She just wanted to say hi to Jo and say, "Hey, Jo, how's it going?" But it turned into this, which I think is really.
And we've got to go to a keynote.
Awesome.
Speaking of keynote, so
yes. So hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in, and I hope that this discussion, this sharing. With Maribel has been informative. I learn from her all the time. She asks great questions.
We have a great community.
We do have.
We learn a lot from each other. So
yes, and so hey, Maribel, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you.
So on. I'm at Maribel Lopez on X, Maribel Lopez on LinkedIn, but since there's so many, you have to find the one that is at Lopez Research. There really are a lot of Maribel Lopez's.
Really?
Yep. Okay. There's AI with Maribel Lopez, which is my podcast, which you can find on all the normal channels, and then lopezresearch.com. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Next Curve Research Portal at www.next-curve.com. And we will see you next time. Thank you.